everybody. We welcome you to the program, A Jew, a Muslim, and a Christian. My name is Imad Bayoun, and I'm a Muslim.
My name is Father Michael Manning. I am a Catholic priest.
And I'm Hillel Cohn, a rabbi.
The topic today is about the love of God, our love of God. You know, we talked about the purification of the heart earlier, and I believe that one of the strongest tools for that purification and the enrichment of the heart is to love God. I'm talking about us loving God and not God loving us, which is also another important thing. I like an explanation actually that was given by an early Muslim scholar. He said, if our relationship with God is likened to a bird, then one of the wings would be hope, the other wing would be fear, and the head would be love. And I think this summarizes our relationship, that too much love, too much hope in God without fear, the person will take God for granted, you know, sinning left and right without thinking about it. And too much fear, of course, will paralyze the person and he'll despair. So there has to be a balance. You know, a bird has to have both wings to fly, but the bird would die without the head, which is the love of God. And I think this is really the essence of our relationship with Him, is to love Him, knowing that He loves us back. And this is part of the enrichment of our heart. And I'm going to quote something that I translated from him. Excuse me if I read it, because it's beautiful and I couldn't actually memorize it. But it's not that long. And he said, describing our love of God, he said, it is the food of the heart, the nourishment of the soul, and the satisfaction of the eyes. It is the life without which one is dead. It is the light without which one is lost. It is the cure without which one is sick. It is the pleasure without which one is distressed. It is the quality of those traveling toward their Lord. It is their map. It is their destination. It is the core of the relationship between the Lord and His servant. It is the essence of the worship. It is the spirit of the beliefs and of the deeds, without which they become lifeless body. It carries the heavy loads of those journeying toward their Lord into places that they could never have reached otherwise. Those that have it, the love of God, have monopolized honor and success of this life and in the hereafter, for God has decreed that those will be with those, that everybody will be with those that He loves. And I think this, in a way, summarizes or gives a glimpse of that spirit of loving God as an important ingredient in our relationship with Him.
I hear all of that, and I think in terms of the great commandment, which early Christianity, which Jesus, when He was asked what are the two great commandments, quoted that from the book of Deuteronomy and the book of Leviticus. And you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. And you shall love your neighbor as yourself. I think very often our love of God is predicated on a concept of God that is somewhat anthropomorphic, that sees God in the same way as a human being who is the object or the recipient of love. And I see love of God in a kind of a different way. Love of God is the inclination to emulate what is God be or what is God by becoming a human being to the fullest extent possible, becoming fulfilled, becoming more fully human. That to me is love of God. Do I think that God needs my love?
No, He doesn't. I think we need our love of God, I think, to put it that way.
But you see, even using the terminology, He doesn't, reinforces that idea of God as person, where I would say God is that which is not yet actualized in my life.
But you know something, this is a good, I like that, you know, but I think this is nice, but I think sometimes approaching it in a more spontaneous way without overanalyzing, I think, may make it more enjoyable. I think sometimes, you know, overanalyzing a certain concept may take the spirit out of it, you know, and I think we naturally are anthropomorphic, you know, we have these things. I think learning about God, sometimes you have a certain feeling, you know, and I express it without even labeling it. I don't have to label it or put a certain tag on it. What do you think, Father Mike?
I'm continually kind of battling between this experience of God and the larger, broader understanding of which you've both spoken. And then this other aspect that Jesus brings of encountering God in one another. And that really ties in with you being the full person that you are by loving your wife, by loving your children, and finding God even in that, or being able to appreciate the beauty of nature, the bigger picture of this this undefinable and mysterious reality who is God that I'm longing to be able to get to, you know, in a beautiful
And to
way.
make that connection, I think, I mean, I can appreciate nature the way it is. I can appreciate what I have, the blessings that I have. I think this is nice. I mean, this is something that will bring me satisfaction. But I think I can take it one step further into appreciating the fact that God gave it to me. And not just being happy with this cup, but going beyond that, that I'm happy that the person who gave it to me loved me enough to give that to me. This will actually add to the meaning of whatever I have into actually connecting it with God.
So what you're saying is that an element of love is developing a sense of gratitude and a sense of humility as well.
I think it feeds it. It feeds it. It definitely feeds it. That appreciating actually what God has given you. I mean, how can you love someone unless you know about them? And people, I think, by nature have the tendency of loving those that are kind to them. So if you get a glimpse of the source of all the gifts and the blessings and all of that, you cannot help but love God. You cannot help but actually develop that sense of closeness and appreciation for what He has given you.
One of the things that we struggle with in Christianity is the concept of a person. In our creeds, we talk about the personhood of God. And when I'm dealing with atheists or people who are putting off the whole idea of the divinity, I come back and I say, in a mysterious way, I have had a relationship with God. I love God. I love nature and I love the people that I'm with. But I have actually experienced God in my life, and that has changed my life, and that becomes the foundation of all the things that I'm doing as I try to serve other people. This personal relationship, I think, for me, is fundamental to the whole understanding of religion.
Yes, Rabbi.
We have a prayer that's recited both evening and morning, 2 different versions, but it says that God's love is manifest through the gift of Torah, Torah being that whole set of the first writings of the Hebrew Scriptures and so on, but that Torah is an expression of God's love for us.
Yes.
In other words, giving us a set of guidelines that we live by, because those guidelines will help make the world a better place. And to be a lover of God, I would almost like to say to some people who tell me that God loves me, don't love me so much, because it's not all that it's cracked up to be. But true love of God is embracing your fellow human being with respect, with sensitivity, with those things that are the components of real love. Now, mature love is an art. I like, it was Erich Fromm, the great psychologist, who wrote a book on the art of loving. And I think if we think of loving, both loving human beings and loving God, as an art, as something that has to be developed and cultivated, we might be on a better track.
I think an important component here in developing that love to God is to know that God loves you. And I think this is something, when I look, what we mentioned earlier is, if I believe that God loves me, then the natural step is for me to love Him. That's one of the things that would help me develop this love and appreciation of God, but learning about Him. And I think what you mentioned earlier, staying away from the anthropomorphic, there's a verse in the Quran that says there's nothing that resembles Him. And a great philosopher and scholar, his name is Al-Ghazali, he said, whatever comes to your mind, God is not that. And I think in a way, trying to keep that personification of God out of your mind. But I think even without, you don't have to imagine someone to love Him. You don't have to imagine. I think just appreciating what you have and expressing it, like you said, toward other human beings and toward yourself, toward the universe around you, would be definitely a great thing. I really thank you very much for the program today, and we thank you all for listening, and we hope to see you in our next program. Thank you very much.